Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of Andrewsfootball.com. Welcome to my breakdown of the Baltimore Ravens. If you're new to my channel, there's this button right down here. See it, see it, see it? Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. My channel is scientifically proven to make all your wildest dreams come true. Now, here's how my breakdown videos work. I break down what I like. Then I break down what I don't like, but stick around to the end where I break down the Vegas over-under, and if you should, put action down on the Baltimore Ravens. So break down what I like. I like how they ended the season. For those of you that don't know, Joe Flacco, their starting quarterback, got injured after the bye. They went ahead and implemented Lamar Jackson, the rookie out of Louisville, and they started running kind of a college type of offense where Lamar Jackson ended up running the ball quite a bit, averaged 17 carries a game. And what happened is over the last 7 games, they went 6-1, ended up winning the AFC North. What was really impressive is out of those 7 games, they did not allow one of those teams to run for over 100 yards. In those 7 games, they allowed the teams 429 yards rushing. That's 61.2857 yards a game, while they ran for an average of 229.57 yards a game. It was 7 games, total of 1607. 5 times they ran for over 200 yards. So it's a difference of almost 4 to 1. It's over 3.5 to 1. But bottom line, your defense was shutting the opponent. If you run for 229 yards and you hold your opponent to 61 yards rushing, you're going to win. The Ravens won 6 out of 7. And the one loss I attended, it was at Arrowhead, and they had the game won. It was 24-17 late in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes completed, I think it was a 4th and 18. They ended up scoring a touchdown, putting the game in overtime, and kicked field goal. Baltimore couldn't do enough offensively, but it was a great game. They had a very good chance to win that game, but bottom line, they ended up winning the North and getting into the playoffs, obviously. So it was a fantastic job. Second thing kind of coinciding in that is the coaching. I'm a big fan of John Harbaugh. Matter of fact, for those of you who don't know this, John Harbaugh was an assistant under Andy Reid. He was actually a special teams coordinator under Andy Reid, who got the coaching job, and he's done a fantastic job. Assistant coaches that are taking over for this year. It's Don Martindale, who was actually defensive coordinator last year, did a fantastic job. Greg Roman, who's been with the teams, taken over offensive coordinator duties under with no longer going to be Marty Morningway, but Greg Roman's been with the team for several years. I don't expect too much to change. So you have a very good coaching staff. And I also like the way the teams run. I mean, bottom line, you got a team that's defense first, then they run the ball. And I'm an old school guy, so I love a team that runs the ball and plays really good defense. So I really respect that. So the Baltimore Ravens are a real treat for me to watch. Next thing I like about the Baltimore Ravens is the draft. Marquis Brown, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma. It's Antonio Brown's cousin, and very exciting player if you got to watch him at all in college. This guy's very similar in build to John Brown. I don't like comparing players to already established starters, but he appears to be a more explosive version of John Brown. But keep in mind, I don't like comparing established players to rookies, but really they seem very similar, except that Marquis Brown seems much more explosive. Jalen Ferguson, defensive end out of Louisiana Tech, and if you follow his story, it should sound familiar to you, Ravens fan, because here's a guy who had a ton of sacks in college, but he didn't test well at the combine. Who does that sound like? It sounds like Terrell Suggs. Look it up, because remember, he had a ton of sacks at Arizona State, and then he didn't do well at the combine, kind of slid in the first round. A lot of people thought he was going to go sooner. Baltimore snagged him up. He's going to be in Hall of Fame someday. So I'm not comparing the two. Hopefully they have the same type of career, but it's a very similar background. Tons of sacks, tons of production, didn't test well. So you get him, a guy who could have gone in the first round, you get him in the third. Now, except for Ferguson, who went to Louisiana Tech, the rest of the draft was big-name schools. I don't know if this was done on purpose, but one thing I've always preached, and I've always said, great teams win in draft rounds 3 through 5. everybody knows about the first round pick, but it's really teams that draft well in rounds 3, 4, and 5 that determine if you're going to be a great team or an average team. And I love these picks. Miles Boykin, Justin Hill, Ben Powers, Inman Marshall. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to break down each one of these players, but also, side note, Trace McSorley, the quarterback out of Penn State, is going to be the third string quarterback, something I really like. But I love all these picks because this shows depth, and some of these guys will probably end up being eventual starters. That's something that they've carried on through Ozzie Newsome, who was a great GM. Speaking of Trace McSorley, comes to my next point I like is RG3. How many Heisman Trophy winning dual threat quarterbacks have the speed and athleticism to play wide receiver exist in the NFL right now? Well, there's only 3, and that's 3 if you count Cam Newton, who I think would actually play tight end due to his size, or maybe he's a big wide receiver. I don't know, but bottom line, there's 3. There's RG3, there's Lamar Jackson, there's Cam Newton, and the Ravens got 2 of them. The thing is, if you're going to run Lamar Jackson 17 times a game like you did towards the end of the season, and they're not going to do that this year, okay? But if you're going to run him that much, you need a quarterback who can run a similar type of offense. RG3 is the only guy who can do that. Now, I mean, Cam Newton could also, but Cam Newton's more of a bigger guy, where RG3 and Lamar Jackson have wide receiver type of speed. Both these guys, like I said, were dual threat Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. RG3, actually, if you remember, coming out of college, actually was a better prospect than Lamar Jackson. Most years, he would have been the first player overall in the draft, but he came out the same year as Andrew Luck, who some people said was the best prospect since John Elway. And I'm kind of going off on a rant here, my mistake. But bottom line, RG3 is invaluable to this team. Hopefully these guys get along and they're talking, and he's saying, hey, man, don't do the same thing I did. Hopefully he's doing all the little things right, because RG3 is probably better than 5 to 7 starters in the NFL right now, today. He could probably go to a handful of teams and improve the quarterback position, but he's backing up Lamar Jackson. More than likely, if they run him the same amount of times that they did last year, he is going to play. Hopefully they change the offense enough that he stays healthy 16 games. But when you have a scrambler like that, more than likely RG3 is going to play this year. So it's really, really critical and a really good thing that you have him on your roster as your backup quarterback. Last thing I like is I like the schedule. You open up the season at Miami, then home against Arizona before you come to my house at Arrowhead. So you should end up being a 2-0 team before you get that loss at Arrowhead. But late in the season, in December, you have home games against San Francisco. Then you have a Thursday night game against New York at home. And then you have to finish the season at home against Pittsburgh. Your 2 road games in December at Buffalo, at Cleveland. Realistically, they could finish the season 5-0. So you're going to start off 2-0, and you could potentially finish the season 2-0, and then your last 2 games of the season at Cleveland, and then home against Pittsburgh. Really good games. But realistically, home against San Francisco, at Buffalo, Thursday at home against New York Jets, those 3 are wins. So you should be riding a 3-game winning streak at least. Before that, you have Monday night game against the Rams. That's on gimme. But so you have the chance to start off the season hot and end the season hot. There's some tough games in the middle. I just mentioned the Chiefs, but I do like their schedule. So kind of to recap all the things I like is I love the way they ended the season, winning 6 out of their 7 games. One of the big things I look at on how well a team's going to do is how'd you end the season? Did you end the season well? Well, the Ravens did. I like the way that they're coached. John Harbaugh, excellent coach. The assistants are top-notch assistants. I like the way that they run the ball, then play good defense. The old school in me really likes that. I like their draft. They had a really good draft, in my opinion. Of course, it's going to be a couple of years before you see how everything pans out. But early on, I like the players that they chose. These were really good players. And in the middle rounds, I think they really hit some really good prospects. I like having RG3 on your team. If your starter is Lamar Jackson, having RG3 is invaluable. I mean, how many dual threat Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks exist? There's only 3. So, and then I like their schedule. They should start off 2-0, and they could realistically finish 5-0. All right, break down what I don't like. I don't like losing 4 defensive starters, including Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer Terrell Suggs, and then you lose Pro Bowlers Mosley and Weddle. Now, keep in mind, you're replacing Weddle with Earl Thomas, who I think will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I love Eric Weddle, okay? I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but I know Earl Thomas is. But bottom line, you have a guy who went to the Pro Bowl last year, and he's gone along with Mosley. And then your leading sacker, Za'Darius Smith, he's gone. Your 2 leading sackers. Now, keep in mind, I'll bring this up here real fast. Here, it's not completely. Okay. Suggs was tied for second on the team with Matt Judon. But bottom line, your 2 leading sackers are gone. I mean, who do you fear more, Matt Judon or Terrell Suggs? Okay, so bottom line, your 2 leading sackers are gone, 1 Hall of Famer and 2 Pro Bowlers. That's not good. Second thing, and this is something I already touched base on, but you have your quarterback with 17 carries a game last year. Now, keep in mind, they're a bright enough coaching staff that they're going to make adjustments. They're going to change some things. I can promise you Lamar Jackson's not going to have 17 carries a game this year. I got so upset in my stomach at 17 carries a game. Okay. Bottom line, they're going to adjust. Is he still going to run? Sure, but he's not going to carry 17 times a game. You can't do that in the NFL successfully. You can do it for a short period of time. Okay. Last 3-4 games a year, if he gets 15, 20 carries, I don't mind that. You can't have him do it. Week 1, if he has 15, 20 carries, that's a big mistake. Third thing I don't like is the Baltimore wide receiver core. Now, according to our lads in ESPN, Marquis Brown is your starter and more than likely wide receiver number 1. I'm about 5'8". During the winter, I'm usually 170. Right around now, I'm 160, 165. I might be bigger than Marquis Brown. That's not good. That's not good. I would feel a lot better if Marquis Brown was your number 2 or your number 3 wide receiver. This guy who's got big-time potential, but he's a rookie. You honestly don't know how his game's going to translate because he hasn't been done. There's lots of guys that look good coming out of college and they can't play in the NFL. I mean, I watched Randy Moss's rookie season. He was arguably from day one the best receiver in the NFL. I've only seen that happen once in watching football, and I've been a diehard football fan since '81. Dolphins, Chargers playoff game. Going off on rain here. Bottom line, though, if you're opening the season with a guy who's never played in the league before as your best wide receiver, that's not a good sign. Now, I do love their tight end. Spoiler alert. A fantasy football, get him late. Hayden Hurst. Nobody's going to pick this guy. Last pick in the draft, pick up Hayden Hurst. I got a feeling he's going to have a big season. Keep in mind that I love the tight ends, but their wide receivers are, you're looking at unproven and not really good. So kind of recap, what I don't like is you lose 4 starters on defense, including a Hall of Famer, 2 Pro Bowlers, and your 2 leading sackers. You have your quarterback who had 17 carries a game as a starter. That's not good. And your wide receiver core is one of the worst. I could argue maybe the worst in football. It's probably not the worst, but it's bottom 5. So those are things I don't like. But would I say stick around to the end? Would I talk about the Vegas over-under and if you should put action down on the Baltimore Ravens? The over-under for the Baltimore Ravens is 8.5. For over, it's plus 110. The way this works is that if you wager $100, you win 110. If you want to wager under 8.5, it's negative 130, which means you have to wager 130 to win 100. And there's a pretty big gap in between there, so most people are betting under. I actually recommend over. A $100 wager will win you 110, and I think that the Ravens actually are just as good as. It's tough because you lose a lot on defense, but the defense is a strength. I think they could afford to lose those players and still have a top 10 defense as far as points. I think the offense will be. I mean, they're not going to do the same thing they did last year, but I like the Ravens, so I do think they're going to win over 8.5. This is a very, very good game. This is a good team to bet on. Okay, take the over. I feel really strongly about this. But wait, there's more! Okay, to make the playoffs is, yes, plus 170. So you wager $100 and the Ravens make the playoffs, you win 170. If you want to bet against the Ravens making the playoffs, it's negative 200. So you have to wager 200 just to win 100. I think they're making the playoffs. So if I was you, I would not only take the over, which a $100 bet will win you 110. I would recommend that you bet on the Ravens to make the playoffs. So bet $100, win 170. So over 8.5, make the playoffs. But wait, there's more! To win the AFC North, currently with the Westgate Casino, Cleveland Browns are plus 130. Pittsburgh Steelers are plus 160. The Baltimore Ravens are plus 350. So if you think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the AFC North, you wager $100. You can win you can wager 100. You win 350. I think the Ravens are going to win the North. So go ahead, bet the trifecta, bet over 8.5. Bet them to make the playoffs. Bet them to win the division. Take 3.5 to 1 odds. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and take the Ravens and the trifecta. This is a great video. Great money advice for you. So listen, if you're a subscriber to Andrew's Football, you already know you're one of the greatest people on planet Earth. All your wildest dreams are going to come true. But if you're new to my channel, there's this button right down here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Check out these playlists. They got some awesome content. Hey, Wednesday I'm breaking down the Houston Texans. It'll be a great video. Again, hey, I'll see you Wednesday.